please welcome, with a lot of noise and energy, the one and only Troy Datcher.
That's quite a welcome. Many of you don't know, I played for the Detroit Pistons before. Actually, I haven't. But he's the announcer for the Detroit Pistons. That's why you got all that energy. Good morning. Hey, thanks for allowing me to spend some time with you today. I want to thank the Benzinga organizers for giving us this opportunity to tell you a little bit more about the parent company. Joining me here today, I have two members of my team. Mike Batesel, stand up Mike. Mike's our CFO. Mike's here. All the tough questions go to Mike. And we have Colin Brown, our Chief Legal Officer, who's here. Colin keeps me out of trouble. As they mentioned in the opening, I've been in the industry for 150 days. And there's a lot I've learned in those 150 days. And I'll tell you a little bit about what I was doing before and how I got here. I think that'll set up why I think this is a very special opportunity with this organization and the most competitive marketplace in cannabis in the U.S. If you asked me probably 7 months ago if I'd be standing here in front of you, I would tell you all nuts. I actually spent 22 years with the Clorox company, 10 years with Procter & Gamble in consumer products, packaged goods. My last role at Clorox, I was actually leading global sales for a disinfecting company in the middle of a pandemic. My life was pretty cake, by the way. I didn't have to drum up any demand. So you may be asking me, like, so why did I leave that cake job to come be a part of this fast-growing, crazy industry? Well, as an outsider, I actually was poking a lot of holes as it was developing. Monday morning quarterbacking a lot of the decisions I'd seen as organizations were forming, and I got an interesting phone call. As I started to listen to the ingredients of the organization they were talking to me about, it became incredibly interesting to me. And I want to just point a couple of those things out. One, this company had a vertical platform thesis behind it, which made it very interesting. So for 30 years, I worked in consumer products, packaged goods industry, and I longed to have a relationship with the consumer from end to end. You know, I spent a lot of time innovating products, working on great marketing plans, and at the very moment of truth, I handed that decision over to execute to Walmart, Target, and Amazon. This was an opportunity to actually own a relationship with the consumer from end to end. I'm going to share with you a couple of examples of why that's powerful and what we're doing with that relationship from end to end that makes this opportunity so exciting for me. The second thing is we had the makings of some really interesting brands. A lot of people are talking about building brands in this space. As I went under the hood here with this opportunity, I saw there were some interesting things that were starting to develop here that I didn't see in the rest of the marketplace. We've strengthened some of that, and I'll tell you some of the moves we made just in the last couple months to make sure that we're going to be the best in this industry at building brands to export outside of California to the rest of the country. The third thing is I've got a chance to work with someone that I admire for a long time, and that's Jay-Z and the folks at Roc Nation. You know, this is an incredibly crowded space. There's thousands of brands in California, and the one thing that's certain is that Roc Nation can help you drive culture and cut through clutter, and that's an advantage that we have that others don't. You tossed on the top of that, we have a strong balance sheet. I'll talk about the importance of that later. And for me, being the first black CEO of a publicly traded company, social equity and its purpose is incredibly meaningful to me. So that's why I'm here. So a little bit about us, about the numbers. We finished the year with $173 million of revenue. 50% of that revenue came in Q4 from our omni-channel retail portion of our portfolio, and I'll tell you why that's important later. Our products can be found in over 450 dispensaries in California. We've expanded our footprint to have 11 dispensaries and 6 delivery depots, which allows us to get to about 80% of the population in California. That reach, that scale is critically important. It actually feeds that 50% revenue mix that I'm going to talk about later. And then importantly, that strong balance sheet. We left the year with $165 million in cash. I don't have to tell anyone in this room that knows anything about California how challenging this industry was for us in California in 21. I wish someone had told me that 8 months ago when I was considering this opportunity. But there's a couple things we did in 21 that sets us up for the future. One, we really focused on rationalizing our brands, focusing on the brands that we think have a long tail to them in terms of its importance and ability to cut through all the clutter, as I mentioned earlier. The second thing we did was we actually hired a strong executive team. So that's what I've been spending my time doing in my first 150 days, is revamping our executive team. What I have now today is a new CFO and Mike, a new chief legal officer, a new chief financial officer, a new CMO. By the way, Esther Song, if you guys know Esther, she helped build MedMen, Cadescent, and most recently Pure Beauty. She's now on our team. She's been here for 2 weeks and already making an incredible difference. And we actually have hired a chief transformation officer, someone who's a serial entrepreneur who's really challenging my thinking. But importantly, we have an incredibly diverse team of folks to help us with these challenges in California. And then finally, I talked about the fact that we expanded our retail footprint, which was important to really drive towards this higher revenue mix, which I mentioned. At the beginning of the year, only 24% of our volume was, from a revenue standpoint, was coming from retail. We were susceptible to the challenges of the commoditization in California with the rest of our portfolio. We quickly pivoted our focus to focus on our direct-to-consumer model. We started to de-emphasize the wholesale bulk business, and we had a place to pivot. And the result of that is going to be a higher margin mix over time. I talked about the fact that we're starting to build some relevant brands. 6 of them are being featured here. Just wanted to point out just a couple of them, just so you can be familiar with our portfolio and where we're starting from a consumer standpoint. We've got brands like Mariah, which is a sun-grown brand from Santana, a very authentic brand that speaks uniquely to a community of consumers that have been incredibly incremental to our portfolio. We have Monogram, Jay-Z's premium luxury brand. It competes in the highest portion of the category, that top 4% of luxury in all of cannabis. And then the brand that started off for us, Caliva, which has an incredible footprint in the state of California and known for its great product, Alien OG. So we've got a really wide group of brands that cover the spectrum of consumer needs. More to come in that area as we make more investments. But this is the reason I was really attracted to this opportunity. I know the power of brands. I spent the last 30 years leaning into building and shaping categories, and this is opportunity to shape an industry. So how are we going to do that? This is really the importance of having a vertically integrated organization in terms of our touch points with the consumer. Along that journey, we're collecting information about our interactions with the consumer. You know, if a consumer walks into our dispensary, we're collecting information on their needs. If they actually use our convenient app, Caliva.com, if you go to our app, actually we're collecting great information for consumers as they enter our mobile experience. We actually have a delivery platform. And as we go and deliver products to the consumer, we're collecting data along that journey. It's allowed us to be better marketers, better innovators, and drive a more personalized experience. And I want to just take just a second to walk you through 2 quick examples of how we actually turn those insights into action and impact. My team came to me early on in my tenure here and said, we're going to launch another gummy line. And I thought, I don't know much about this industry, but who the hell needs another gummy, right? Well, here's what they convinced me of with the data that we had. There was actually a sweet spot in terms of a gap in terms of dosage, as well as flavor profiles that drive loyalty in this category. We took that data, we actually added a second growth vector to our gummies lineup with a new dosage and a new flavor profile. And I'll tell you this, I wasn't able to share this data earlier as I've told this story before. That work has allowed us to have the #1 edible in our ecosystem. 25% of our sales comes from our own edible line. That's a great starting point for us learning in terms of how to compete in the broader California marketplace. And we're taking that data to be better innovators, better marketers, and drive a better experience. So I'm really excited about the fact that we're taking this data and actually leveraging it to drive incremental sales for our organization. The second thing is, who needs another vape? Well, guess what? We decided to enter the category back in February of last year, and we were able to actually produce a high quality, great value vape cart product because we actually own the experience with the consumer from end to end. Because we're vertically integrated, we actually own a production facility that allows us to get great quality product at a great price. We're able to actually see an opportunity in the data within our own ecosystem that there was an opportunity for a disruptive price point with a quality product. So we launched cruisers. Now, if you took a look at BDS data back in January of last year, the top 50 items was one manufacturer. You can probably guess who that manufacturer is. Can you guess? Students of the game, who's that brand? Thank you, I won't say that name. But yes, that brand had the top 50 items in the category. So since we launched, you see a new brand emerging as a top 15, top 10, now top 8 brand. We actually have 6 of the top 50 items in the vape category in California in less than a year. That's what data and insights will do for you. Now, as I look at the wins from 21 that we're going to lean on to build our plans for 22, I talked about our retail footprint, how that's enabling a better, sweeter mix from a margin standpoint. I'm proud of the work that we've done with our social equity investments. I see Tiffany McBride here, who leads that work for us at the parent company. You're going to hear from 2 of those social equity applicants that we've partnered with today, Josephine and Billy's, which is a female black-owned dispensary in Los Angeles, and Jesse Grundy, who owns a brand called Peaks in Oakland, California. They're here actually being profiled at this conference today, which tells you that we've had some success in investing in these young entrepreneurs. We'll continue that into 22 and beyond. But we have some untapped advantages. My 11th day on the job, I got a chance to sit down with Jay-Z, and we talked about how do we partner together to make sure that we're maximizing the value of that relationship. I asked Jay-Z for 4 things, he gave me 3. I'm not going to tell you what those things are. One of those things I did ask for, though, was an office in Roc Nation's headquarters. We've now parked someone in New York, in Roc Nation, so at every event, monograms at the center of everything that's happened in the Roc Nation universe. That's something no one else has as they're trying to build a brand, not only for California, but beyond. So we're excited about their relationship. And the other thing is this ownership of the relationship from end to end with the consumers, which I'm incredibly excited about. Over the course of the next year, we're going to focus on some key strategic areas. I talked about our investments in winning with brands. It all starts with having a great leader. Check the box on that. We're going to focus on driving lifetime value with the consumers that are in our ecosystem. We're really focused on driving first-party adoption of our brands. You can do that when you own 11 dispensaries and can reach 80% of the California market. And here's something that's interesting about that journey. In our legacy stores, 35% of our sales come from our first-party brands. In the stores we just acquired in Q4, only 2% of our sales come from first-party. Guess what? We got a lot of great upside, a lot of great opportunity to introduce our brands to more Californians over the course of the year. So we're going to double down on those investments we made in 21. A lot of runway to go, a lot of great opportunity for us to introduce our brands to more consumers along this journey. The other thing that we're going to do is make sure that we continue to leverage all that data we're collecting, to become better marketers, better innovators, day in and day out. And then finally, something I talked about at our Q4 earnings call, we have to protect our balance sheet. My CFO and I, Mike, we're committed to making sure we have cost savings initiatives in the pipeline, make sure we're getting as efficient as possible with every dollar we spend to make sure that we protect our balance sheet, because our objective is to have $100 million in cash at the end of this calendar year. We firmly believe that we'll have 3 years of runway left in this organization without any additional capital raise if we can get to the right burn rate. And we're clearly focused and squarely focused on delivering against that objective this year, barring any strategic investments we may make in acquisitions along the way. But that sets us up for 22, 23, and beyond. And we're excited about that. And we've also publicly stated our objective is to be cash flow positive in 2023. More to come on the details of those two initiatives to get us there. I'll be sharing those over the course of the next weeks, quarters, and months. So I look forward to you hearing more about those plans. But as a snapshot, here's the runway for the next 3 years. I actually brought in some friends from the Boston Consulting Group, some CPG experts. I've actually built some strategy with them in the past with the Clorox organization. They speak my language. They came in and they helped me validate a couple of things about this industry and the path for the next 5 years. Here's what we're doing in 22. We're going to focus on those investments we made in 21, really transforming the core of this business. And you see the metrics that matter there. Leaning into the revenue mix that I've talked about, that's now 50% of our revenue. Leaning into first-party brands, which is more profitable, and driving adoption and loyalty and building share across the marketplace. We're going to then, in 23, really start to focus on that cash flow profitability picture, which I mentioned earlier, the stake that we put in the ground. And I'm looking forward to 24 as we start to talk about things like market share, not only in California, but beyond. And really focus on that top-line growth story that we all come accustomed to being an important part of the mix with any investment community that's a part of shaping the industry. So I'm incredibly excited about the journey we're on. I'm incredibly excited about being in this industry. I'm incredibly excited this is my 150th day, and I get to spend it with you. Actually, I wish I was in my dispensary zone 420, but the second best place I'd rather be is here with you. How about that? And if I wanted to leave you with one thing, this is our strategic picture and one page. We all have these tattoos on our arm, by the way. If you roll up Mike's sleeve, he's got a tattoo right on his arm. It's really about the true north of being a consumer-leading player in the cannabis industry. Consumer first. Building winning brands, leveraging our ecosystem to build brands. Everything we do as an organization is at the service of building brands. We own dispensaries to build brands. We own a delivery execution today because we want to build brands. It's all about how do we become smarter at building brands. You see the enablers that are listed here. First and foremost, taking those insights, making sure that we're leveraging those, all supported by things that I really believe in. Values at the center of our decision making. Trust, authenticity, and stewardship. Things that I long believed in before I joined this organization. I'm happy to share with my team. I'm happy to bring that to this industry. Thank you for your time, your attention, your focus, and if any questions, we'll be here for the week, and looking forward to having conversations about the parent company and the shape of how things are going to shape up in California and beyond. Thank you for your time.
All right, let's hear it for Troy.